everyone, I am back again. Another week gone of lockdown, and I put a vote to it on Instagram this week, and I've decided to do a savoury bake today because you voted for it. So thank you everyone who's been making the recipes and doing these with their kids and sharing them. It's really nice, and it also gives me something to do during lockdown, so thank you very much. So today is a really super simple recipe. It's great for picnics because we can see people outside now, so you can impress your mates when you go and meet them in the park. We're going to make a focaccia today. Also, a very exciting thing, this is the only recipe that I have done so far that doesn't require melting butter, so you're welcome. So in here I have got the usual 500 grams of strong white bread flour, 7 grams of yeast on one side, and then 10 grams of fine salt on the other side, and I've just rubbed those together and made a little well in the centre of the flour. And then what you need to add is 2 tablespoons of olive oil into the middle, and then 350 to 400 millilitres of lukewarm water. Again, don't go too warm, you don't want to kill that yeast. I kind of do it on the cold side. If you think about going in a swimming pool, that's how I have to imagine things sometimes. If you think about the temperature of a swimming pool, when you first put your toe in, it feels quite chilly, but that's still 26 degrees. So what we're looking for is that kind of temperature, really. So it says 350 to 400 mils. What I'm going to say about this is I'm going to put the full 400 in because I'm using my mixer, and so it can handle a sticky dough. However, if you aren't using a mixer and you want to knead this, I would do the 350 because otherwise it might be quite tricky to knead. Yeah, there's only about 4 ingredients to this, and you should have them already, apart from the olive oil. Everything else, if you've been doing these recipes, you will have used already so far. So yeah, resourceful. So I'm putting in 2, you can weigh this out, but I'm going to be chefy about it. And then I've got a very good tip for you guys. You can use your measuring jug if you want to do the water, but 1 milliliter of water and 1 gram of water is exactly the same thing. So if you want to be really precise about it, put it on your scales, and I'm going to measure out 400 grams, which will be 400 milliliters, of lukewarm water. I've Googled this several times because it did stress me out when I first started doing it. So I'm going to put that in my mixer for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to see where we are. I'm just going to put it on low, and then we'll see where we are, and then I will probably knead for the last bit if the dough isn't too wet. I've let mine in the mixer now for about 5 minutes. I am going to turn it out and knead it slightly, but it's a very wet dough because I've added quite a lot of water. And what I would say is, if you're finding that you're wanting to add lots and lots of flour when you're kneading, put the dough back in the bowl and let it rest for about 15 minutes and then come back to it, because the water will absorb more into the flour. Sorry, siren. The water will absorb more into the flour, the yeast will start working, and then I think you'll find the dough a little bit easier to work with. So I'm just going to turn it out and just knead it for another couple of minutes, just to join you if you're not using a mixer. But you don't have to do this if you're using a mixer, you can just keep using that. I just want to show you what this dough is like. So I've let it rest for a little bit because it was really wet. And when you're kneading, you just don't want to add too much flour because it will just become really heavy. And then if you think about it, you're just adding loads more flour into the recipe. As you can see, this is like that. So we're just going to work it into the work surface. You can just, if you've got one of these, you can pick it up. And this is probably what yours is going to look like, but just persevere with it. just keep stretching it out, that's fine. All we're doing is stretching that flour, getting those gluten strands to work. Get that in your bowl. And then what you're going to do is cover it, let it prove, let it double in size. It should probably take about an hour at room temperature or somewhere warm like an airing cupboard, but it's still pretty muggy outside, so I'm just going to give it an hour in the kitchen. This is doubled in size now. It's been about an hour and lovely. So it's still a really quite difficult dough to work with. So I'm going to put quite a bit of flour out for this one. And I've also got a baking tray that's been greased with olive oil, and it's 35 centimetres long by 25 centimetres at the top. And it looks nice and stretchy. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a so it's still really wet, but that's good. And then you take your baking sheet, put the dough in there, and we're going to stretch it out. So this might take a little bit of work, but just be patient. Just be patient with it. It is messy. Going that way as well. That's a bit easier like that. You can pick it up underneath and just pull it out. That's better. And the nature of bread dough is it's going to try and string back. Just keep persevering with it, and eventually it will behave. So then that's all stretched out, and all I've got is a clean tea towel that I've just dropped. All I've got is a clean tea towel, and we're just going to place that over the top and leave it for another 50 minutes to an hour until that has doubled in size again. So that's now had its hour. 20 minutes before the end of the hour, I preheated the oven to 220 degrees Celsius, and that has risen up quite nicely. We've got our dough. We want to put some flavourings and toppings on it. So I'm going to do sea salt and rosemary focaccia, but you could put whatever you wanted on it. Tomatoes, or you could tear up some mozzarella and put it on the top. You could just do salt if you wanted to. Whatever you like on a focaccia will work really nicely. You could put basil, yeah, or just keep it simple like me, sea salt and rosemary. The first thing you're going to do is you need to make some holes in it with your fingers, so this is quite a fun thing to do. So you just want to dimple it like that. So you've got some nice dimples in there now, and then I'm going to drizzle over oil. I know we put oil in the dough already. This is an oily bread, guys. You've got to get on board. So I'm just going to drizzle over. Be generous with it. And then you can either stick in your rosemary, or I think I'm just going to sprinkle it. I might stick some bits in, but just, you know, just go for it. Oh, it smells so good. Sirens are going mad today. Okay, I'm going to put quite a lot of rosemary on because I love rosemary. That's the thing. A lot of what I'm doing every week is I'm trying to find recipes that you can sort of tailor to how you like them, adding flavours that you like or the people that you're baking for like, because that's the joy of baking, I think, is to be able to make it what you like and yeah, enjoy yourself. There's no, I mean, it's quite a scientific thing, baking. As long as you've got the basic recipe down and you're following the dough, flavours go to town. So I've put about 3/4 of a teaspoon of sea salt over that. And then we're going to put this in the oven for 20 minutes and then hopefully it will be lovely and risen and tasty. So very exciting. That's now baked. A bit of rosemary's just fallen off. So we've got our focaccia all lovely and baked and smells delicious. All I'm going to do is just do a final little drizzle of olive oil, and the warm bread will just soak it up and it will just become even more delish. Just a little drizzle, just to give it that extra bit of oomph. So there you have your sea salt and rosemary focaccia. I hope you've enjoyed making it, and I'll see you next week.